We are just 1 week away from the premiere of What If, and in this video, we got to talk about some books that could get hot. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we got to talk about some What If books because we are just 1 week away from the premiere of the What If show. And it's really interesting to think about, what might pop off in the market. It's hard to say, how much canon is going to come out of the What If show, although a lot of the writers that have been working on it have already said that these have big implications for the MCU moving forward. So I was able to kind of parse through some of the rumors and think about, what books might relate to the show. And in this video, we're going to talk about those books. But before I get into them, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, and I would appreciate it. All right, that said, let us get into the books here today. And again, I was just able to kind of look through what are the rumors with the current episodes that are going to be coming out in the What If show and find some books that I thought were really interesting as they relate to this property. Now, again, I don't know if these books are actually going to maintain any value. I don't know if they're actually going to blow up in any kind of way. It's always a little bit hard to spec on, animated stuff with regards to comic books, because usually, some of the cartoon stuff doesn't really have the same effect as the live action stuff does. But I did my best, and I still think that these books are very interesting to talk about at the very least. So the first book I have to talk about, of course, is going to be What If #1. Now, this is a book that I don't think has any, notable significance with regards to what we're going to see in a specific episode or what we're going to see ultimately as the fallout from the show. But this book right here is, in fact, the very first published What If book. This, of course, was written back in 1977, and it is What If Spider-Man Joined the Fantastic Four. Now, this is a book that has actually started to pick up a lot of steam simply because of the brand awareness to it. We got the What If show coming out. There's actually going to be 2 seasons, I think, comprised of 18 episodes. And, if this is successful for Marvel, I could see them doing a What If series, from here on out for the rest of the MCU. I mean, there's no reason why, being an animated show, which is going to have a smaller budget, or at least a more contained budget compared to their movies and TV shows, why they wouldn't just be able to keep churning this stuff out for content. So I believe that the What If brand is actually going to be something that stays fairly relevant, at least as long as the MCU is going. I feel like we're going to get more What If shows, and for that reason, I think What If #1 is actually going to be able to hold its value for the near future or so. And as we look at the CGC numbers here, we'll see 9.8s are selling, 625 fair market value. Of course, there's a lot of sales here at the top end here in July of 2021, 9.6s July of 2021 as well, $190 for a fair market value here. And then, of course, like I mentioned, if you're finding this book raw on eBay, 1977 book, it's going to cost you around $60, $70 or so. All right, the next book that I think is really interesting, of course, is going to be Fantastic Four #13. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of Uatu the Watcher. Now, of course, we know that Jeffrey Wright, famous actor from Westworld, is playing Uatu in this show, and he's going to be kind of, the narrator of all of the episodes. He's going to kind of tie them all together. And right here, Fantastic Four #13, this is his first appearance. And it's really interesting to me that they would go so far as to cast someone like Jeffrey Wright. I feel like they're casting a named person for Uatu for a reason, because this is an important role for them moving forward. And I feel like this book right here, being that it's just a classic Silver Age book anyways, I think that this is going to be one that, stays relevant for an extremely long time, not just from the fact that, there's a precedent for, people wanting to get their hands on this book as from a collecting standpoint, but also I think that Uatu is going to play a role in the MCU here moving forward. But this, of course, is not a book that is cheap to come by. Here, there is no 9.8s on the sale, but there is a 9.6. Fair market value $40,000, but sale back in 2015. Here, 9.4, sale a couple months ago, $18,500. And then at the bottom here, Go Collect has this at the 230 range. But again, this is a book that has been so hot recently. I think you would be hard pressed to find this book for less than $400 or $500 or so, even at the low grade on the raw end of the spectrum. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. And the next book here is probably the most sure bet of all of the What If books I have on my list. And this one is actually going to be Exiles #3. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first time that Peggy Carter, of course, the character in Captain America, the Captain America universe, takes up the mantle of Captain America. There you see her on the cover. And this is a book that came out in 2018. Now, we already have seen in the trailer, and we can already, infer that one of the episodes is going to be what if Peggy Carter got the super super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers and took up the mantle of Captain America. And this is the book where effectively, that happens. Now, Peggy Carter has been a character that's kind of been a fan favorite over the course of, the MCU. And I feel like they keep bringing her back into the fold because they know that the fans really, really like her. And I feel like this is like their way of getting Peggy Carter sort of back into our MCU universe. They're going to have her here in a What If show. And there's already been rumors that she's going to play a role in future What If shows. In fact, there's rumors that she might show up in Doctor Strange 2. This book right here, Exiles #3, has gotten extremely hot recently. This is a book that I think you can find on eBay around the $30, $40, $50, $60 range. Again, it's hard to determine exactly what the fair market value is right now because this book is getting so hot. But this is definitely one that I feel like when we get her episode, the premiere of her episode, this is going to hit all new heights for sure. And as we dig into the Go Collect fair market value numbers here, we see there is a fair market value 9.8 selling around the $220 range, although I feel like that's a little bit behind the curve here. It's definitely a lot more expensive as I peruse stuff on eBay. There's also something to point out here. Exiles #3 also has a variant cover, the classic, we can do it pose right here. And this is a book that definitely commands a much higher premium, obviously, because I think it's like a 1 in 25 or something like that. So, think double the numbers or so. So this one is also very, very interesting. And then, of course, there's also Tales of Suspense #77, which is the first appearance of Peggy Carter. Now, this is a book that, I'm not necessarily sure that this one is going to get super hot coming off the heels of What If, but it is a classic Silver Age book. It also does have the first appearance of Ultimo, who, for those who know, he's right there on the cover. So this is a really interesting one, but typically speaking, I feel like, the Peggy Carter as Captain America is going to be the book that gets hot and is going to be the one that everyone wants to get their hands on, but definitely one to keep your eye on as well, Tales of Suspense #77. All right, let's go on now to the next books here. The next book is really interesting. This is Iron Man Annual #5. And what is the significance of this? Well, there's a few things here. So we know that Killmonger is going to make an appearance in a What If episode. And specifically, he's going to have a connection to Tony Stark Iron Man. Now, I believe the title of the episode is going to be something like, what if Eric Killmonger saved Tony Stark from the desert? Or what if Eric Killmonger, worked with Tony Stark, during Stark Industries, or whatever the case may be. And that, that's a really, really interesting storyline to see where that ends up going. And the reason I point to this book right here is because this is one of the first times that Iron Man and Killmonger have an interaction. Of course, this is Invincible Iron Man Annual #5. And some significant things within this book is that, one, this is the resurrection of Eric Killmonger. And two, there's actually a moment in this book where Killmonger pays his respects to T'Challa, who he thinks is dead. And so that I think is really, really interesting. Some of the story beats within context to this annual feel like they might play out into the What If show and also future plot lines moving forward. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with Black Panther 2, but there has been a lot of rumor that maybe they're going to find a way to bring Eric Killmonger back into the fold, and maybe he might take up the mantle of the Black Panther, at least as the Eric Killmonger one, not necessarily replacing T'Challa Black Panther, but taking up the mantle as Eric Killmonger. And that got me thinking, like, well, what if Eric Killmonger meets Iron Man in this What If universe, and effectively we get a universe where Iron Man is able to kind of like take Killmonger under his wing, and then he becomes like this reformed person, and he's actually de-radicalized, and he ends up working for Tony Stark, and then effectively he becomes a hero in this universe, and then that version of the Killmonger gets transported into our MCU, and that's how we get kind of Killmonger back into the fold. So that's definitely a really, really interesting storyline overall, and this is a book that I also find very, very compelling for that reason. Of course, there's also Jungle Action #6, which is the first appearance of Eric Killmonger. This is always going to be a classic book regardless, because it is his first appearance, but definitely one that could get hot recently. Of course, this is a book that is fairly pricey overall. I see this book on eBay always being charged around the $150 range, at the low end here. I also forgot to mention that, of course, this is a book, Iron Man Annual #5. I see this book being charged around the $20, $25 range or so, depending on what kind of deal you can find for yourself. So definitely a book that's also been kind of, heating up recently. But Jungle Action number 6, a great book, of course. And then, of course, there's this one that I think ultimately is what we might be leading to with regards to bringing Eric Killmonger back. This is Black Panther number 22 from the year 2000. And this is the first time that that Eric Killmonger takes up the Black Panther mantle. So this one is a really cool book and a really interesting one overall. Again, another book that I see being charged, on eBay around the $20, $25 range or so. But it definitely feels like if there is a version where they bring Eric Killmonger into our main universe and he does end up taking up the mantle of Black Panther in some kind of way, this will be the book that definitely pops off. All right, let's go on out to the next batch of books here. The next batch of books is actually going to be Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21, which you see right here. It's also going to be Ultimate Fantastic Four number 22, with this one right here. And then, of course, we have Marvel Zombies number 1. So we got to talk about these 3 books in tandem. Now, what is the significance of Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21? This, of course, is the first cameo appearance of Marvel Zombies, making Ultimate Fantastic 22 the first full appearance of Marvel Zombies. This, of course, is a series that came out in 2005, and we've already been able to see in the trailers for What If that, we see images of Captain America being a Marvel zombie. Now, there have been some writers who have come out, working on the What If show that have made mention of the fact that, we are going to get a episode about Marvel Zombies, and in fact, we might end up seeing some kind of live action version of them tie into our universe later on down the road. So again, planting the seeds to, what could eventually be, an event film of some kind, that there is a universe where a bunch of Marvel zombies exist. And then if they ever find their way into our, multiverse, we could have a movie or an event film that has these Marvel zombies. So I feel like this is going to be an interesting episode that sort of sets up this universe of, bad guy zombies. I think we have in that episode, we have Bucky going against the Captain America zombie. So that'll be really, really interesting to see. Of course, if we want to get the first cameo, that's Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21, and then Ultimate Fantastic Four number 22. This is the first full appearance. And then later on in 2006, you get Marvel Zombies number 1, written by Robert Kirkman, of course, who created the Walking Dead series. This is always going to be a great collector book, regardless, because of the fact that, it is the cover swipe of AF-15. It's also written by, legendary Robert Kirkman writer. So, people love their Marvel Zombies. So this one is really, really badass. And I feel like when we get the episode with Marvel Zombies, this is going to be a book that everyone flocks to. But you could also try your luck with Ultimate Fantastic Four number 22 and Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21. Of course, these are all books that are somewhat hot now. They're all being charged around that $20, $30 range or so. Marvel Zombies number 1, definitely a lot more expensive. Harder to find this book online, but I definitely see a few copies being charged around the $100 range or so. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. And the next book I'm going to talk about is actually going to be Avengers number 55, First Appearance of Ultron. And I'm also going to talk about What If number 5, What If the Vision Had Destroyed the Avengers. Now, these 2 books I think are really interesting in tandem, because there is right now rumors that we are going to get a What If episode featuring Ultron and asking the question, what if Ultron had won? And I think that when we get that episode, that could sort of reinvigorate a lot of people getting excited about the Ultron character. And of course, he makes his first full appearance in Avengers number 55. And this book right here, I think, is actually one of the most undervalued books in all of the market. Now, again, because we got Ultron in 2015, this was sort of before, the MCU had, this massive effect on, the market of comic book collecting. But I feel like if we were to get Ultron in an Avengers movie today, this book right here would be worth 10x what it is going for right now. I mean, you can find a decent copy on eBay, of this book for around, $70, $80 or so, which is totally respectable. I mean, forget the fact that, we may never see Ultron in a live action version or a movie again. I mean, Ultron is still a premier character or a premier villain within Marvel comic books. And then I also point to this book right here, What If the Vision Had Destroyed the Avengers? Because remember, when we go back to Age of Ultron, and we think about, what was, Ultron trying to accomplish in his plot. He was trying to, essentially get his consciousness into the body that would then become Vision. But of course, he wasn't able to do that. The Avengers were able to stop him, and we got, the results that we got. So this book right here, I think, is really interesting because it feels like if they're going to do a What If episode where Ultron defeats the Avengers, well, it seems like they would, kind of explore that idea of okay, well, what if, Ultron made his way into the Vision body and then became this super killing robot machine? And this book right here might sort of be the book that kind of manifests that representation. foundation. Now, I realize that this What If book doesn't necessarily have Ultron related to it, but simply, just off of the name alone, what if the Vision had destroyed the Avengers? If we get that visual of some kind in a What If episode where we see Ultron inhabiting Vision and then he goes and he defeats all the Avengers, I feel like this book on cover alone is going to be the one that pops off in the market. And this one is really cool because this is actually probably the cheapest book of this entire batch right now. I mean, you can definitely find this book for just a few dollars online. All right, let's go on now to my last two books here. My last two books are going to be What If number 18, What If Doctor Strange were a disciple of Dormammu, and What If number 40, What If Doctor Strange had not become the master of the mystic arts. And why do I specifically point to these two books here? Well, the reason I point to these is that, in the trailer, we've gotten images of Doctor Strange doing something. Now, we don't really know what that means. We don't really know what what's going to happen with Doctor Strange. But what I've been able to kind of parse online is that there are rumors that, there might be something like, what if Doctor Strange turned to the dark arts, or what if Doctor Strange, his love interest had been killed and he wanted to resurrect her, or whatever that was. So effectively, what if Doctor Strange did some bad stuff? And when I was going through all the What If books, this is the What If book that has, a story related to Doctor Strange, and that of course is What If Doctor Strange were a disciple of Dormammu. So this is really interesting to me because it feels like if we're gonna explore the origin of Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange 1, and we're gonna kind of have him dabble in the dark arts. Of course, Dormammu was a villain in that movie, and the whole movie was him going against people that were dealing with dark arts, communicating with Dormammu. If there are any dabblings in the dark arts, or if there's any hint of him working with Dormammu, I believe that this is a book that is absolutely going to explode. And this one right now is a book, of course, that it's not too expensive on eBay. You can find this one for $5, $6, $7 or so. Now, I also point to What If number 40, What If Doctor Strange had not become master of the mystic arts. Similar to this one, again, I just picked this one because you never know with what we're going to see with the Doctor Strange What If episode, and this was the other book in the series that namely dealt with Doctor Strange. The last book I got to talk about is Marvel Premiere number 10, and what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of the character known as Shuma-Gorath. Now, there have been a lot of rumors that Shuma-Gorath is going to be the villain of Doctor Strange 2. Shuma-Gorath is, of course, like kind of a Lovecraftian space god, elder god who kind of lives between multiverses. And that would sort of be interesting if in the What If show, this is where actually we're going to plant the seeds for Shuma-Gorath. We're going to get that first, vision of Shuma-Gorath. And what I thought was really interesting is that there was actually an image in the trailer of Peggy Carter, going against some kind of tentacled creature. So to me, it feels like this might be where we start to lay the foundation for what is actually happening in this, twisted multiversal craziness as a result of Immortus dying. We might start to get, some hints of the plot of Shuma-Gorath going into Doctor Strange 2. So in the What If episode that features Doctor Strange, we might actually see Shuma-Gorath, or, we might introduce Shuma-Gorath in the Peggy Carter episode, or perhaps, at the end of every episode of What If, maybe all those characters get eaten alive by a crazy creature. And ultimately what we're seeing is that, Shuma-Gorath is devouring these universes, or whatever the case may be. But regardless, Marvel Premiere featuring Doctor Strange number 10 is the first appearance of this character, and it's definitely a book that could get extremely hot. Who knows what the ceiling for this one will be if in fact we actually get Shuma-Gorath. Of course, this is a book right now that I see on eBay being charged around the like $85 to $120 range, depending on the grade and depending on the deal. But definitely an interesting book, one that I think you could still find in LCSs for pretty good deals, because not a lot of people know about this book overall, but definitely one to keep your eye on. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see 9.8's going for $62.50, but there hasn't been a sale since September of 2016. And then again, here at the bottom, of course, like I said, you're not going to find this book slabbed at the low grade range, but typically speaking, when you go onto eBay, you can find this at the $80 or $100 range or so. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those are my picks for What If. I'm very, very excited about the What If show. I mean, I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I used to love reading the What If books when I was a kid. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any of these books? Are there other What If spec books that you guys are specking on? Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.